everybody. This is Cari. I hope a few people know who she is, for sure. A friend of mine. We've had a little adventure this morning.
Good times.
Good times. I had been planning since my friend Tracy had gotten kicked out of Indigo a few weeks ago for wearing not a mask. And that's my little face covering that I've made. I should have one on right now. But if you check on my timeline, you will see a video that I did, that we did this morning, as we ventured into the store. Me disguised as a Muslim woman, and Cari, who came in later, just being herself with not a mask on. The both of us wearing exactly the same face covering. Yet they weren't going to let her in when I had been around shopping. So if you haven't checked that out on my timeline, check it out. What did you think about that, Cari?
Pretty interesting. I went in 5 minutes after she did because, you know, just wanted to give her the opportunity to get in there and do her thing. And then, yeah, I show up with the same color and everything on my face. And
The very same face cover. Let me go grab one.
Yeah.
Here. I don't know why I didn't have one. Where is it? Oh, I only have like 10 million on it.
Yeah, I had mine on at one time too, but I took it off.
But here we are, yes. Both of us were wearing black though today, but of course I had that on and I had this on, of course, with a head covering. And she had no head covering and the blonde hair.
Yes.
And because they assumed I was a Muslim woman, I was allowed to shop throughout the store. They greeted me at the door and said, "Hello, how are you?" And I proceeded in. And Cari was stopped at the door. And I got that all on film, so that was super fun. Because we knew that was going to be the case, didn't we? I had tried last week to go ahead and get down to Indigo. And I was going to do the whole bus experience, in fact. Just to, I don't know, get a suss on the lay of the land and how Muslim women were treated in our city. And I got to the bus stop and I realized I was being followed. So it was a bit of a problem. So this time I got a partner in crime and it was fantastic to be able to have her there wearing the very same face covering and seeing that they were in fact being discriminatory towards Cari. Crazy. Hi Lillian, how are you? Did you see it? I can tell you, we have fun, don't we? And we had no plan, really. We got in the car, and we got there, and right before I went in, she's like, "Okay, so I'll come in 5 minutes after." I'm like, "Cool, sounds great." And that's what we did. Yeah. In fact, again, I had no trouble. I walked through the door, I was greeted, said hello, and I continued to venture around the store until Cari came in. Here we are. 2021 in Regina, Saskatchewan, where to breathe free, you have to dress as a Muslim woman.
And dye your hair.
This is hilarious because what I did actually to do the disguise is I did this and I made it so that this went over and covered my hair like this. So I used the not a mask 2 ways. And it wasn't that pro, but it was pro enough for him.
Yes.
Now, the interesting thing about that, Cari, is that, first, he was uncomfortable.
Oh, very.
I was hovering around when you came in, and you could just about see the wheels turning because he had just let me in, and yet you were standing there, and he was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even look you in the eye.
Nope.
No. And then when he was told, as we walked out, that just blew me away.
Yeah.
You see, these young guys and kids that are working, they're told that Muslim women get a free pass and anyone else has to wear the mask. It's crazy. In any case, Cari's one of my friends. We met over the mask issue, mostly, the lockdowns. And then, of course, not a mask came along. And you were one of the first. Cari doesn't want to wear the mask. She's like me. She can't breathe in a mask, like so many people. And Cari even managed to get her kids accommodations in school to wear not a mask. And it's funny because it's the Catholic school board here that apparently is dead set against it. Yet Her
I
kids.
wouldn't give them the option to tell me no. I just told them this is what they're wearing, and they didn't give me any grief at all.
And that's the thing. You've got it in writing too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What people don't understand, and it's cool for me because I'm single, I don't have kids. She's got the kids. She's the one interacting all the time. So for me, she's often my eyes on the ground in that regard. And a lot of other moms that are telling me the stories. But, I find that a lot of moms don't get into the story so much. They sort of let it go, where you stand firm. Now, you've been going maskless pretty much.
Yes.
All the time. You have your not a mask around if you need it. But you don't want to wear a mask. But you were having no problem for quite a long time. But
up until November? Yeah. So for a couple weeks, I started wearing the mask in stores because it was just getting to be too tyrannical. People were crazy. So I thought, well, it's time for me to have a break. It was just too much on me emotionally. So I started wearing the not a mask, and I started getting pushback on that too. It's almost like,
yeah.
Doesn't matter what you're wearing. They got to pick apart what you've chosen to put on you. And I just thought, forget it. If you can't put up with the non-mask, then you're gonna deal with my bare face. And that's what I've been doing since December. I started up again, and I've had a couple issues. Like at physiotherapy, they were adamant that I put the blue mask on, and I refused. I said no. I explained to them what it was made of, and they need to accommodate, otherwise I wouldn't be able to wear the blue mask, and they caved and let me put the non-mask on.
So that's it.
Yeah. You have to stand firm. You have to be strong enough to tell these people and educate them.
Okay.
Otherwise they will.
But you've been doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But then Saturday, now this is hilarious because she was at the Pasqua Hospital with her son. Now at the same time, I was walking around the hospital. We didn't know that each were in the vicinity, but I was actually walking around the hospital and taking a look at the physician parking lot going, hey, there's 2 physicians in the whole hospital today. At least there's 2, because every time I walk around, this was the 4th time in the last 2 weeks, there was no physicians in the parking lot. In Variantville, from what we hear, that there's so much traffic and overloaded. Okay, so Cari, why don't you tell them about your experience on Saturday?
Well, on Saturday, my son and I went there. We actually went to a Mediclinic first that has an x-ray place in the facility in the South End. We went at 3 o'clock. And it looked dark, and I thought, this is strange. It's the middle of the afternoon on Saturday. Like, okay. So I started getting the crutches out, go to the door, and there was a notice on the door saying that as of April 2021, they're not accepting walk-ins and that you need to call. So I phoned, and there was a answering machine, and I just thought, whatever. We're just going to go to the hospital because he needs to get x-rays on his knee. So we get to the hospital. Should I say where?
Yeah.
Okay, at the Pasqua. And
so that's Regina's Pasqua Hospital. Yes.
So it was about 4 o'clock by the time we got there, because I had to go home and get his hospital card and do all that. Got there. There was 2 people in the waiting room. We got to the reception desk, and she had a blue mask on under her nose. And she started taking our information. I gave my card. I had to put it on a piece of paper for her to take it. And as she was talking, she was pulling her mask away from her face so we could hear her, because it's so muffled when you're speaking. So she's obviously having a hard time herself. So every time she was talking, she kept doing that. And I had my non-mask on, and Nick had his a cotton mask on from Old Navy. And she was fine with all of that. She said, I'll meet you over at triage. So we go to the triage desk, and the nurse there started asking us questions. And then she's like, oh, by the way, you have to put the blue mask on. And I said, no, we're mask exempt, and we've got our masks, and we're good. And she's like, well, no, you have to put this on. So I said no.
So Nick had to put on his. He had to put on the blue mask,
yes, too. He took his off. He said, Mom, just do it. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. I've got one that's better than those garbage masks, and with the spray and everything else.
The fibers, the spray, the toxicity.
The cancer-causing agents in there.
We're at the hospital trying to, retain health, and here we are being given something to
downgrade.
Yeah. And actually a downgrade from the not a mask, because the not a mask is 2 layers of chiffon, which is one of the highest filtration fabrics available, which is why I chose it.
I went into education mode with them too, right away, telling her about the efficacy and like the material and explaining all that. And she's like, kind of rolls her eyes and goes and she's like, I'll have to get my nurse supervisor on duty. So this woman comes out in the mall uniform, it looked like. She kind of looked like a mall cop with goggles on and a blue mask and everything. And she's like, well, you have to put the blue mask on. It's the rules. Again, I told her no. So then she got somebody else to come out. Her name was Jackie.
So this is number 4 person.
This would be the third
person.
Yeah. Right. So the third person, who was Jackie, came out and told me about the protocols and that I need to put the blue mask on. And again, I told her no and that I have an exemption, and she threatened to get security involved to have me removed, and that if I didn't want to put the mask on, that I could go outside and wait for my son. And I said, there's no way I'm leaving him in here by himself. He's 13 years old. So she gave me the mask because I just said, just give me the mask. I'll put it on. I said, do you have a room that's all sealed off that I could step into? And I was a little bit condescending myself, but...
Well, and that's what happens, right? We that's our natural tendency to be as condescending as you're being treated condescendingly.
Exactly.
Now, this is the gaslighting you and I talk about quite a bit, and this is sort of where it begins, but I'm going to let you continue on with your story here.
So I went outside, put it on, and then I put my non-mask over top. Come back into the hospital, and Jackie's still standing there, and she goes, oh, so that's how you're going to be. You're going to take the mask off underneath just so that you can put, wear what you want type of thing. And I said, excuse me? And I pulled it down because it was over my nose. And my non-mask is up here. I pulled it down and I said, I'm wearing it. Thank you. And I went into the washroom, washed my hands, came, sat down, and she left. But then, of course, the triage nurse was sitting right across from us. So she kept staring me down and making sure I have my mask on properly, apparently. And I looked at Nick and I said, let's just go sit somewhere else. I don't want this person sitting there judging me. So we went around the corner to go sit down, and the mall cop comes out to make sure that I'm, she just kind of looks over and she's pretending to look in the emergency room, and then she's looking at me again, and then she goes back. We get called in about 10 minutes later. I really don't think that 10 minutes even went by, to be honest, sitting there. And
okay, so again, she's an emergency. This is Saturday, and Regina's like a main hospital.
Never been in there that quick.
So all the years you've been in with your kids and all of that, hours, wait. This was
10 minutes, not even.
So there was what, 2 other people there?
2 other people when we got there at the beginning, and then as we were sitting there, there was 3 others that showed up.
Right.
And we're all like going in one after another, pretty much.
No backup in Variantville.
Not at all.
Okay, keep going.
So we get put into a little room number 7, I think it was. And it's just basically curtains. And they closed it all off, and the nurse comes in and assesses him and everything. And then she left the room, and then she comes back and she's like, oh, we have to put, you have to wear one of the blue medical masks. And I said, I have it on. And so I pulled it to see, so she could see the ear loops. Oh, okay. So she leaves, comes back. I have to make sure that you actually have it on over your nose. So I pulled it down and said, I'm good.
So this is the second time they're coming to see under your not a mask.
Mm-hmm. Well, third, really, because the mall cop had already kind of looked at me but didn't say anything yet, right?
Following you around. Okay.
Yeah, following me around, checking. So then the mall cop comes in a little while later. So we were there a total of 2 hours. I got checked on 6 times during that whole time. So mall cop comes in and she says that she needs to check and make sure that I have it on okay. And I said, just stop. I said, I have it on. I've got 2 masks. I'm good. And she's like, well, we need to ensure your safety. And I said, I'm not worried about it. Well, a lot of other people are. And I said, well, good thing I have 2 masks on then, and I'm not sick. So she was offended by that, obviously, and then proceeded to tell me that she was going to have to call security on me. And I said, why? I'm wearing 2 masks. like, what's your deal? I said, like, why don't you go do your job instead of harassing me? Like, leave me alone. And she kept talking over me.
Now, you told me, didn't they make you show the under that you could not, that you didn't have it pulled up over your nose under the non-mask?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I was pulling it down and saying, see, it's right here.
But they also wanted to see that you had it under your chin.
Oh, yeah, well.
Now, just so people understand, I had a little thing on WestJet when I came back after the holidays at Christmas, and I did a little video about what to do on the airlines if, in fact, you were saddled with the blue medical mask, because they wouldn't let my not-a-mask on. And I did a little video where I showed people how to pull it up and wear the not-a-mask over. Mm-hmm. It's like they saw that or something. Exactly. Isn't that interesting? Like it ventured through the unions. Absolutely. But now the thing is, before you finish the story, when you were talking to that woman at the beginning, she had no problem with you. She's the one that wasn't wearing the mask properly herself. She had no problem with you. Everything was good until your name sort of came up in the back. And it's like they knew who you were.
Because my name was my married name under Nick's profile. Okay. And then when I told her who I was, she's like, oh, I've got this name. And I said, oh, that was a long time ago. It's this now. Oh, and she seemed kind of interested in that and typed it in. And then when we got to the triage desk, that's when all the problems.
There was an attitude change in between that time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so keep going.
So, the mall cop left. Then Jackie came in. Again.
Just checking on you.
She's like, oh, I'm just making sure everything's okay and that you're good and that everybody's safe, or whatever the hell her words were. But I said, I've already told you guys I don't want to talk about this anymore, and you need to stop harassing me. And she continued to talk and say, we need to make sure that you have it on. She wanted to check again. I'm like, you guys, just stop. Go do your job. Like, why are you continually coming in here to bother me? Like, I was getting agitated. To be honest, I was. Because I was being harassed.
Who wouldn't when you're being harassed and followed around like a child?
And I was complying. I was more than complying. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. So Jackie left.
Well, you weren't wearing the downgrade. You had the downgrade under because they insisted she downgrade from not a mask. And then, of course, she's got 2. So basically, she's got, 5 layers going. And they're still coming in.
And one of the things I said was, look at Nick. He's got his on. And it's all gapped and all the viruses are coming out. I said, so mine is sealed off. It's sealed off down here. I don't know what your deal is. Anyway. Jackie leaves. Maybe 5-10 minutes later, security comes, and he's pretending to talk to somebody in room 6, which is right beside us. But meanwhile, looking through the crack of the curtain.
Violating your privacy.
Yes. And I knew right away he was there for me, but he pretended that he was just kind of doing his rounds, but he was...
There was nobody in room 6, right?
Oh, yeah.
There was somebody there.
Yeah, there was an older lady with her granddaughter.
Yeah.
With her broken arm.
But going through the rooms, checking. Mm-hmm.
So he comes in and he's like, I just wanted to talk to you about the mask and we have to make sure that you have it on. And I said, I already told the other people, I said, this will be the 6th time somebody's come to check. I said, this is ridiculous. You need to move along. I'm complying. I don't know what the issue is. And he told me that he wasn't harassing me. And I said, well, maybe not you. You haven't been in here 6 times. I said, but in total, 6 times you guys have been here harassing me.
So you were all the talk there at Pasqua Hospital. Oh, yeah. See, this is what happens when you do pandemics. And then, of course, nobody's busy in the hospital. And all they have to do is sit there and go and compare notes and harass people that are there for treatment.
And instead of actually looking after patients, they're coming and harassing a single mother for mask wearing. And when Nick and I were going into the hospital part where he had to go get his x-rays, the triage nurse and the mall cop were standing there chit-chatting and staring me down.
That's intimidation.
Absolutely. And I just didn't even give them the time of day. I thought, whatever, you guys you're so busy, you're just standing around. So Nick gets his x-rays, we come back, they're still standing there chit-chatting, giving me the stink eye, both of them. And that's when the mall cop came to talk to me and make sure I was wearing it properly. And I was. I was like, hello. So, I forgot to tell you, Jackie, on her last visit with me, she really felt that I needed to put the blue mask over top of my Nana mask. And I said, don't tell me how to put stuff on my body. Like, go away. Stop it. But of course they wanted it on the outside just to ensure, so they didn't have to come keep checking on me, I guess. I don't know. She's like, I really don't know why you need to have that underneath.
No, because you made me downgrade with this piece of garbage. Toxic garbage. I cut one of those apart a couple weeks ago, or about a month ago, and I took pictures of it. And it is, you can actually see the filaments. And again, it's not a healthy thing to be wearing. They're the cheap, bottom of the barrel garbage, and they don't not protect against viruses.
No,
they don't. Well, how does it feel to be the talk of the town or the talk of the hospital, huh?
It's crazy. Oh my gosh. If I ever get if I have to go into the hospital, I'd rather die than go in there, to be honest. Like, oh my gosh, horrible.
Well, apparently you and a lot of other people who won't go near the hospital, and because, well, again, it's never been that empty before.
Yeah.
And it's just been, well, of course, Cari was my partner in crime. It was one of, I couldn't get near the hospitals. Because I get followed. So Cari and I jumped in her car one day, and I waited outside while she walked into the hospitals and did the filming. And I ended up having
hardly any people.
Yeah, that was 2 people in one of them, and I think there was 3 in the next one. We did both hospitals that day. And then I had police at my door at 5 a.m. after I posted one of them, banging the door down, like I thought they were going to break it down.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And, well, here we are.
Yeah.
What do you do with kids and that sort of thing? And now you know the vaccine's coming down.
Yeah.
But
pretty scary.
You're considering homeschooling.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm so happy about it because I have a lot of friends that have kids, and I don't have kids, so I can give suggestions and stuff, but I can't also say, well, you should do this, because again, I don't have to do it, right? And you weren't there. You wanted your kids to be in school. I think you're like most moms. You want your kids to be in school.
They wanted to be with their friends and stuff. But ever since the hybrid, the 50%, and most of my oldest son's friends are in the other alphabet, where he's at the beginning of the alphabet. So he's by himself, and he's like really struggling. So he needs to understand that normal is not coming back. And it's actually getting worse, even though we're all getting vaccinated.
Well, we're not.
The dummies are.
Well, I really do feel sorry for people who think that the world's going to go back to normal once they get the jab. And the way they're pushing at it for the kids, they're not going to get back in school in September without it. And we've got to know that. Now, Cari has been around since the mask, and of course that's again how we got to know each other. And it was hard because I kept saying, this is a steamroller, and a lot of people didn't believe me. You believe me because you were through it with me. We did protests together. Cari was the one who, her dad has this, he makes signs and decals and stuff, so he made all our signs. We'd show up at a protest and we would have 20 signs for anybody who showed up. And then, of course, if nobody showed up, we would stick them in the snow in front of the SHA.
And the next day they had shoveled all that away.
They shoveled it away. When you win against these guys, you win. It feels good. But we're not winning anymore. No. It's gotten to the point again where, now in Superstore you had a problem with the mask, and you actually ended up going to the supervisor. Now this, I think it was the fall, or no, this winter, where 4 guys were following you around a Superstore. Young guys.
Yeah.
Yelling at, tell everybody about that.
They pretty much followed me throughout the store. So 3 times in the store they made comments about my mask and where is it. About being selfish, I think, was another comment, and I just didn't say anything because I didn't want to have a confrontation.
And
I was quite busy
how old
in the
were
store.
they?
They're probably late teens, early 20s.
Okay, so not very old, and young men, right?
Yeah. 4 of them. And I think it was just one out of the 4 that kept on repeating himself, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, but they all kept going with him.
Right? Yeah, they were all, and nobody stood up to him. And when I left the store...
They went along with it.
Yes.
So when you go along with it, it's, again, you can't say, oh, I had nothing to do with it. No, you were there.
You were there and you didn't speak up. You didn't stop the bullying.
Of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Of a woman.
So when I left the store, they were there, getting their stuff all packed up into the cart too, and I was like, oh God, here we go. And of course he made some sort of comment about me wearing no mask again, and I said, listen here, buddy, you better be careful who you say stuff to next time, because you might just get kicked in the nuts. Well, I mean, you never know who's going to go off on people, right? So as we left the store, they said, bye, COVID, and I said, bye, bullies. And then I contacted the supervisor on the phone. Her name is Sharon at the superstore. And she was appalled by what had happened to me. And she said, there's a lot of people that have come and gotten help from us. And the people that are masked, bullying and doing this stuff to you, will get kicked out of the store. So you need to stand up for yourself, go get help, and they will be removed from the property because it's not okay to do that to people. So, now that I know that, I went there yesterday to do some shopping, and the lady who's at the front, they do the clicker thing, and they're supposed to do their counting. I walked right in because I've never been bothered there, and I could hear this. Couldn't hear her because she had a mask on and a visor.
Because she's muzzled.
Yes, exactly.
Like a dog. I wouldn't even do that to a dog, seriously.
No, I would have been in the store already, but I wanted to do a deposit at the PC Financial Bank there, and I was at the ATM, which is right by the front door, and she's like leaning over the bar. Excuse me, ma'am, you need to go to the customer service and get a mask. I said, I'm exempt. She still insisted I go and get one, and I said no. So I did my shopping, went and paid, went to customer service, talked to a gal there. Sharon. Hi, Sharon. And she said that is not their job. They are not supposed to be doing that to people. They are supposed to do the counter, and that's it.
You see, again, this is where personal beliefs start to work into the equation, or maybe somebody else on staff has said something, or you just don't know. But at the end of the line, they're not authorized to be doing that.
Well, I was wearing my Say No to Tyranny hoodie. And she did say it after I walked by her, so she probably thought, oh, there's a non-complier. Get that mask on that woman.
We have to say no to the tyranny. You know, for me, as you know, it just got so bad. Like, I was walking around maskless, and then I started to get followed around the store with video and all of that, and I just wasn't feeling safe. I don't want the hassle. I'm not a fighter. Okay, like a lot of people think I'm a fighter. Like, I'm not a fighter. I don't want to argue. That's why I like to get to the point. I like to figure it out, and no sense in festering feelings.
Yeah. And that's why I put the not a mask on back in November, because it was like, oh my gosh, I'm just so tired of like always being confronted and challenged, and I need a break. And then it still wasn't good enough. It's like, okay.
Well, and that's what I said too. If it's not good enough, then I'm going to go barefaced. If that's what you want, if you're going to force me into that position. Yeah. So there's your choice. It's not a mask or nothing. Mm-hmm. And you have to grant that to me. And if you won't, well.
I have a friend in Moose Jaw. I don't know if I told you this story. She has parents in a care home. They've had both their jabs. So the first and the booster. They are still in isolation, and she still cannot see her parents. Her parents are like beside themselves. They don't even want to be there anymore. This is their golden years. They're like, we thought this was going to be, that we'd be able to see our family, and it's not.
So they're in the care home, and th're not allowed the visitors.
No.
And this is it. I mean, we've been talking about that because that's how we sort of started our protest together in the fall. That was in response to the fact that the elderly in care homes were being given one person that they can visit. Has to be the same person all the time. Kind of like the arrangement if you're single, like me. She's my authorized visitor. Take that, Dr. Shabab. Don't think I'd have another stranger in my house, did you? Yeah, she's my authorized visitor because that's all. I only get one.
Mm.
Yeah, it's cruel.
Yes,
it's absolutely cruel. But that is what's happening here, and well, all you can do is. Now the thing is, I mean, this is difficult for you because these are your kids. I mean, you want them to be socialized with other kids, but it has been hard on your heart.
Oh, for sure. It's been hard on theirs too. They miss their friends big time.
And a lot of it, from what Cari's discussed with me, is it's all about the fact that the kids want to do something, and they kind of cook up how they're going to get it done, and then they want to get Cari involved because she's the cool mom. And and then it's always the pushback from the other parents.
Yeah.
And the fact that Cari wants them to be kids, she doesn't want them in the house wearing a mask.
Right. So they're not allowed to come over. The parents won't allow it. And so I've gone along with the whole no masking or not having them over at the house. Like we'll meet outside and outdoors. So they've gotten together with their one buddy, Owen, for some skating and a little bit of shopping. They're not allowed in their house, which is fine. I just go pick them up at the store or whatever. A couple weeks ago, the kids came up with the plan to go play basketball together. It was a beautiful day, and I said, okay, and I made arrangements for my whole day to work around what they wanted to do, because I have to drive them from Northwest all the way to the South End, drop them off, go do my thing, then pick them up when they're ready.
Chauffeur waiting for that driver's license, huh? These are prairie people. Like when you're 16, you get a license. Like now. And it's because your parents don't want to drive you anymore.
Hurry up, get your own wheels.
Exactly.
So about 2:30 in the morning, they had kind of crafted this plan sometime on Saturday, and it was a Sunday that they were going to meet. And sometime in the night when I was sleeping, Owen messaged Miguel and said, I'm sorry, but I can't come out tomorrow for basketball. So Miguel texted me, it's off, Mom, Owen can't go. And right away, variants popped into my head. And I'm like, get out. Okay. So I messaged Owen's dad right away and basically said, I've kind of gone along with this your way all this time. We've met outdoors. We've done it your way. I understand Maria, which is his wife, is in a long-term care facility and that you need to be protective. I said, but it's outside. Like, I basically told the kids that they need to start looking for new friends and friendships because this is really hard on them and it's hurting them as well as me, and I'm not going to be put in this position anymore. And he didn't respond right away, so I thought, ooh, maybe I overstepped. I let the kids know what I had said.
Yeah.
They were very upset with me that I said something because they feel that I'm going to ruin the friendship. Yes. But I was kind of...
No, you were handling, you were making sure that there was no more misunderstandings and we're all on the same page. Like,
we miss Owen, we want him here, but we understand, but outside, come on. Anyway, he messaged back and said, oh, it was a complete misunderstanding. I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. And then 4 minutes after that, he phoned because I didn't respond right away. So the kids and I were at one of the last days that the restaurants were open, having breakfast at a restaurant. So I got the call, took it right away, and he said, I'm really sorry. Owen came in to ask me last night, and I didn't say yes or no, but I did tell him, I don't know, because of the variants. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, really? Come on. This is going to get crazier.
Okay, but that's the value of all of those media drops, okay? Yes. Because again, but also, if a parent is like, I'm too busy, I don't want to deal with this. Oh, the variants!
Yeah. Even though I take the kids over there most times. I try to be as accommodating as I can because I want my kids to maintain those friendships because they're super special to us, right? So.
But that's kind of like how, now again, I was out of the whole, losing friends over the virus and over COVID because I had already done all that with solar radiation management and a bunch of other things I had done that people thought I was nuts. So, with you, this whole thing is a brand new experience in this, where are your values? And and establishing boundaries that you never had to before.
Yeah, and it's super stressful. It's like stuff that shouldn't even be a conversation.
No.
Like,
that would have never been a conversation before, but now it's changed. But what we've also found is we're learning the true colors of people, or again, where their values really lie. And the fearful ones, I mean, again, did you kind of have them all nailed out? Who was going to be the fear monger and who was going to be, you did know who that was going to be. It's hard.
Some have been surprised, but yeah.
Well, you might have lost another friend again over the V.
Yes.
The other day. See, because Cari's like me. You know what? I don't do that anymore. I don't go into anybody's. I don't comment when I see anything like that. Quite honestly, I don't see any of those kind of posts. Like, I'm going to get the vaccine. Woohoo! Like, I don't know those people. I had to block them from my life because honestly, it breaks my heart to see blind faith and trust in something that in vaccines particularly, I've had damage. My dad's been damaged. And they're just not innocuous. And this technology scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. Totally new and fresh, and everybody's lab rats.
They are. They absolutely are. Now, Cari, as we got going on the mask this summer, and in the fall, it was your kids that, they were being indoctrinated about the V right away in school. And now, I mean, the mask hadn't even become mandatory yet. And they were already from the first week of school.
Talking about the V, talking about...
They're having to get it.
Yeah.
And then,
a lot about the...
And then using it to threaten her. That if she didn't want to do something their way, okay, I'm going to get the V.
Yeah, my youngest was like, you're the reason why we can't go traveling and do this and that because you won't do this. Like, I'm not going to put down my values for something like the little carrot. No, not...
You know what? Before, we never had to openly express our values. Before, we never had to go, I believe this, and this before. But now, it's like you just about have to go. Like, you see a mask-wearing man, for me, I'm like, well, bye. No, there's not a chance in hell.
It's so,
Turn off. Absolute turn off. It has, again, if it wasn't difficult before... It's like we took that little pew, and now it's like that's gone. Okay, it's true. You never had to ask. Like you never, you didn't start dating a guy and go, "What do you think of the vaccine?"
Or if you're on Tinder or some dating site and they've got their mask on, it's like
delete. I have a friend too that went out on a blind date about a couple months ago, and she showed up and he was a masked man. It's like, show your face.
Yuck.
Like
scary. Gross.
Men don't understand how what a turn off it absolutely is to see him under that. And what's interesting is I walk around a lot, and I can't believe the men outside that are wearing a mask.
I know.
And then they come at you. So, like, I was walking, I told you about this the other day, where I was walking along, and there was nobody around. And this guy was on the other side of the street, and he was coming right directly at me like this. And I went, whoa, and I stopped, and I crossed the street quickly. And he was like, what's your problem? I was like, you're masked man coming at me.
Are you kidding me? Like, come on.
Like, and shouldn't a man, like, if he saw a single woman on the street, if you did, you should be removing that as you're walking so that a woman doesn't feel threatened.
Absolutely.
Because we do feel threatened. We do.
Absolutely.
And like, I'm going to go out on a date with a masked man. Are you kidding me? But you know what? Maybe a lot of women will feel safe.
Oh, God.
I'll tell you, like, I want a man, not a pussy.
Exactly.
And honestly, it's the bacteria under the whole thing, too. It's just, like, I was never that fond of beards before, but now you have to wear one for any period of time. It's disgusting. And then you're seeing everybody breaking out and stuff. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, my sister's actually getting it on her cheeks, really, like down here, because she's got to wear it full time at Tim Hortons she works at. So she's pretty young. So she's not only in puberty kind of a thing, but also having to deal with that toxic shit in her face. So
And this is actually hurting our health.
Mm-hmm.
And they have no clue how that is going to manifest. Now, the thing is, there are a lot of people who go, wow, the physicians were wearing them. And the surgeons, well, yeah, the surgeons that make like 6 figures,
They chose that.
they get compensated for possibly hurting their health.
Yeah.
Are they under a mask 8 hours a day? Well, maybe if they have a heart surgery, they're there for 12 hours. I mean, if that's happening, but at the end of the day, those people are compensated. When somebody is working in a remote area where they have to have a mask on, they are being compensated.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're all not being compensated. And of course, the workers are really setting themselves up to be replaced.
Yes.
From what I see, it's funny because in my little Safeway here, I've got one woman. I mean, she's double masked. She's got the shield on. She's behind the plexiglass.
Oh my.
And I honestly just want to go up to her and go, you know what? You just keep Come on covering yourself, because before you know it, it's going to be so unsafe to be here.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to, and that's why they're going to replace you with a robot.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it in the stores now. They're more and more self-serves are coming out.
The self-serve kiosks, for sure.
They are, because people are like again, I don't want to interact with that.
Yeah.
So I'd rather.
Like the human touch.
Well, they used to talk to you, because now there is no talking. Like, even before, when there was no mask, people go, "Hey, how are you?" And that was their job. It was to actually engage, or it used to be part of the job. But now that has been cut. Now it is a no discussion, because again, there's no person. How can you have personality? How can you express yourself behind the mask?
And if they do say anything, it's hard to hear them. So.
And you can't understand them.
Yeah.
It's destroying so many things for all of us. But mostly making us be true to our values, or actually establish our values where we hadn't done that before.
So what ended up happening with Owen's dad is he actually apologized and said that Owen actually cried after he said about the variants. And I said, you see, the kids are suffering and they really need to maintain that contact. And they actually saw each other that day. So my kids were super happy. And I said, you see, if I didn't stand my ground and create those boundaries, you wouldn't be seeing Owen today.
That's right.
So,
and there would have been festering feelings.
Absolutely.
And again, misunderstandings. And you know what? As long as it's dealt with, and there is no misunderstanding, it's hard because we have so many things coming at us from multiple directions. So as a parent, you've got the school.
Yes.
Of course, that's a choke point. I've talked about choke points before. Like, basically any place you engage and put your child or yourself, you create a choke point if there's interaction with other people. And that's what the World Health Organization is looking for, so that they can test you, right?
Yeah.
Or put you in quarantine. Now, you've been in the quarantine twice now, right?
Twice this year, the kids have been.
I'm just like, oh my God.
The youngest was first, so he had a 2-week quarantine because it was cohort, so all the kids were sent home and they had their online learning. And the second quarantine was because of their father, who works at Costco. He tested positive for COVID, so he had seen the kids on Tuesday night. So by Saturday, I got a phone call from SHA saying that, the kids have been in a close contact, so we need to discuss with you the protocols for someone who tested positive for COVID, and would you happen to know who that would be? And I said no, and I thought, this is weird. They've been out of school, so it couldn't be their cohort. I never even registered for me. And she goes, well, I've been given authorization to release this information to you. That's their father who's tested positive. Why she didn't just release that right away? Like, to me, it seemed like she was trying to get information out of me to see who else we'd possibly be in contact with.
Well, that would be the name of the game.
Yeah.
That
Get
would
more
be
names, right?
Get more names so that you can hassle them and put them in jail for 2 weeks.
Exactly. And yeah, so she said that their quarantine would be over on April the 6th, and that she wanted us to come and get tested, and I said no. And I can't remember what else now. How the conversation went.
Well, they didn't want you. They wanted you to test. You said no.
Yeah.
And then they told you that they were going to add an extra 10 days on.
Oh, no, they didn't tip.
Oh, that was Tracy.
No,
Sorry.
That was Tracy, yeah. I didn't get it. She wanted to get into the particulars of the script they needed to read, and I said, there isn't anything to discuss. I know he's already been in
Quarantine
before, and I said, because she had talked about, she was trying to get more information from me for contact tracing, and I said, we haven't, because one of the things she said was, the kids are not allowed outside, they have to stay indoors, and you can't have anybody in and into the house. And I said, well, we haven't been allowed anybody into our home since before Christmas. So, like, I'm getting kind of tired of this. Like, when is it going to be over? Immediately, she yelled at me.
Yes.
I don't care if you're tired. This is a public health order. And then I'm right back at her, yelling at her. I've told you guys before not to phone here. Here you are phoning me again. She's yelling whatever on her side. We're both like back and forth.
But she's supposed to be the authority. You don't yell.
She's the one that started first.
Yeah. Yelling. Unprofessional behavior.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to the Saskatchewan Health Authority.
Wow. I hung up on her. She hung up on me. 2 hours later, somebody phoned me back. It was a male this time. The first was a female. And he left me a message saying, this is so-and-so from Sask Health. We need to go through the script with you and what to do for quarantine for you and the boys. Call me back at this number. I didn't write it down. I had it on my call display. I never called.
Didn't hear from them.
Didn't hear from them either. Didn't hear back. Until the boys and I were out one day, last day of quarantine. We were out getting fresh air and exercise and vitamin D. It was a beautiful sunny day. And they showed up at my house, the health inspector, and my tenant was in the backyard. So I haven't got the particulars yet. I haven't talked to her what exactly transpired because there's no access into my yard. So they probably yelled at her over the fence, wondering where I was. And she told them, well, she must be out and about. But what about the kids? They're supposed to be in quarantine. So they're releasing personal, confidential information to somebody. Like,
the rules are only there when it's convenient for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was the mom that when she wouldn't answer the health questions, Rochelle, then the police, well, then they showed up. The thing is, they were giving her instructions again over the phone. Look, if you are the health authority, what you do is you email a very full set of instructions. And this is what I've been telling everybody. Don't accept all these little phone calls. Bullshit. They need to write you a professional email, not a bunch of texts back and forth from multiple directions, multiple people. You don't need to be wasting your time. If they are in fact legit, they should be sending you a very standard email. And then again, any questions, and then, or we're going to call it this time to discuss what you've read to make sure you are understanding it. Again,
everything's in writing then.
But they want to keep you off balance. And this was what I got with the other mom. It's the fact that there was multiple texts coming in. She had, 8 kids that she was dealing with. And again, a newborn as well. 8 kids in the house. That's a lot. And then, of course, the husband had to move out in order to take care so he could bring stuff.
Oh, my God.
So he took one of the kids to another house. And so he was able to go and do grocery shopping, transport the other kids to school. Actually, the kids couldn't go to school for the first week and a half.
Yeah.
But then the one who started it all off in school, she ends up back in school. And the rest of the kids, they have 4 different quarantine dates, which meant that mom, of course, is quarantined for all of that time. So she couldn't even drive the kids to school. It was stupid. And again, no common sense, but no... seemingly no understanding of what it's like to have 8 kids or even a newborn, or again, in order to keep things straight, wouldn't you, if this was all that serious, why wouldn't you be sending a professional letter out?
Absolutely.
Like, honestly, it should be a communique. It should be at your door. It should be a telegram. Something like that.
Absolutely.
It should be
a sign for it.
Like, a text is useless to me. If there has to be anything proper communicated, it needs to be in an email.
Yeah.
And that way you have a thread, too, so you can see what everybody's been writing, and you can go back, and again, you're not allowing for yourself to be dealing with 2, 3, 4 people.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how they do it, right?
Well, and the first time they phoned for the first quarantine, it was from a private number. For all I know, it's some girl in, I don't know, the States calling and asking personal information, asking me how my son is.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
No.
This is bizarre. Like,
It is bizarre.
and then after that
and it's
phone
just
call,
not
because I said,
professional.
you're phoning from a private number. I have no idea who you are. It was after that phone call that I had with her and told her to get lost that time too. They did the news release. Oh, they're calling from private numbers, but you can be assured that this is
No, absolutely not. No, they set it up from it better say on your phone Saskatchewan Health Authority, or you're not getting picked up. Period.
Well, I mean, the second time they called,
I
was
wouldn't
from
pick it
a-
up anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It was a 776 number, so I knew it was medical related. Whoever was calling, but I've got a few calls and I'm waiting in from the medical community. So.
Yeah, this is it. We got to understand, and we've talked about this a lot, that this is the World Health Organization in control here. And again, this is like third world dictators.
Yeah.
And this is how the communication is going off. Like, again, when you deal with personal information, it shouldn't be flung out in text. And you don't even know who any of those people are.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry, if this is how they, again, yelling and screaming, I will not ever give them any of my personal information.
And I pretty much said it to her. I'm not giving you anything, and you're not allowed on my property, and they still show up at my property. It's like, really? If I was home, they wouldn't have gotten me outside because I don't trust them. They might call me away.
Well, the thing is, with between the hospital, if you're a person who stands your ground, you are being treated immediately. Like after it took you getting through that first woman in the hospital. And then all of a sudden your name popped up somewhere.
I'm flagged.
Welcome to the club.
It's going to get worse now after our little Indigo thing.
Oh, yeah. That was so brilliant. It was so brilliant to have you there. It really was, because I absolutely enjoyed that. And I was a little stressed out because it wasn't my first time. I tried to do it, like I said, the other day, and I ended up getting followed. And that wasn't good. But then today it was like, well, get me out the back door. And we got in there. And you know what? The truth is here, people would be. We have a very small Muslim population here in Regina. It's like 2%. So again, if a woman walked in a face covering, they would never say anything, and they won't, because again, there's an accommodation. Yeah. But not for us white people that are from here. Isn't that interesting?
Sorry, but you got to accommodate everybody.
You do, and just because
discriminatory,
just because you're blonde,
yeah. Just because I'm white, whatever.
Well, there's clearly different rules for Muslim women, as I impersonated one, and white women. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even that good, was it? It was okay.
It was okay.
It was kind of falling apart when I was in there.
Then we got outside, the wind, it was like blowing away.
In any case, well, these are the tales of the pandemic and the tyrannical measures that are around us. And I guess, we're women that we tend to get our way in situations because we act respectfully and we discuss. And we've always done, if I've ever had a problem in a store or anything, it would be a mere discussion and it would be solved, because again, you don't go anywhere looking for trouble. I don't go. We go in to get our stuff done, get in, get out. Mm-hmm. And when we are being accosted, going about our business.
Yes.
And again, not impacting a soul. Right. Because the non-medical mask, as we know, does not work against a virus. It doesn't. And
why are the cases going up?
If it works,
why isn't it working?
Exactly. And if the vax works, oh well. The hospital, they keep talking about capacity in the hospitals, and that's what you have to see. The capacity, when you don't have that many workers available that are all getting vaxxed, would be less. Yes. They always talk capacity, not real facts. And as you could see, the place was empty. I know my dad was in for an MRI a couple weeks ago in Calgary. Empty.
Oh, really? Everything
empty. Oh, this is what I hear. I hear people going for cancer treatment last week in Saskatoon. Empty.
Holy moly.
And they still have people believing it. Yet anybody can drive past the hospital.
Yeah.
Anybody, anytime, and go take a look. And
Look at the staff parking lot.
That's what I do.
Been seeding that into news feeds. Well, you think that's where we all park? Oh, you used to.
Here's the thing, Cari. Now, see again, a lot of people don't understand. Regina, Saskatchewan, everybody has a car. And families all have more than one car. I'm a weirdo not having a car walking around. Truly I am. And, you know, when I tell people that, they're like, whoa. What's wrong with you? Because it's not normal here. We have distance to go. And, again, driving from one end of the city is nothing. It takes like 10 minutes. But it is a ways. So, and the bus systems here suck. So this is why everybody has a car. And it's a prairie thing. We always have.
So
that means that they're in the lot.
And it's like prime real estate. Why wouldn't they be parking there if they're allowed to? It's because they're not on
I can guarantee you the physicians are not taking a cab.
Exactly.
Or the bus.
Street. Having to move it every 2 hours.
They're not doing that.
No.
They're not at the hospital. The physician's lot is empty. It means that they're not there. And again, we've done the backup. You've seen the lot, then you've gone in the hospital. And you've seen that you've got what? How many people on you doing nothing but harassing?
Yeah.
Unions are pretty big in that, and I imagine the union is where all of this, or a lot of this, is coming from, including the SHA. Doesn't make you very confident, for sure.
No.
Getting sick is... I get them sending little, tests to go do for them, and it's like, no, they go into the garbage. I want nothing to do with the system here. Zero. These are the things that make you want to move away, and then you go, where do you go, right? But we're talking about it.
I'm not telling where I might be going.
I'm not, there's a lot of options, but then are they options? Is anything a sure bet? But at the end of the day, this isn't a sure bet. We can surely see that our country is going down the tubes here.
Very fast.
I'm afraid in Saskatchewan, I think it's going to be kind of like New Brunswick. Again, because we're the smallest, we're one of the smallest here, and it's less than anywhere. Yet the media has it so overblown. And again, people go, even my mom the other day was talking about the variants. And I was like, Mom, no.
Mom, stop it.
It's because she's talking to other people and they're talking like that. And again, it's just what happens is it filters in and then it filters in your brain. And I'm like, whoa. You know this, Mom. Stop. But at the end of the day, if you're going to get sick, you're going to get sick. I mean, what are you going to do? Are we going to continue on for life? But the idea here is to keep us in fear and keep us in a state of emergency until everything is rejigged.
Yeah.
And a lot of this now is workers that will not have jobs. Like, roboticization is coming. And a lot of those nurses, which is really funny that they want to be little fascists on the front line.
Exactly.
Guess who's going to take their job? AI.
Yes.
AI is going to be taking their job. See, I'm a believer in karma. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the karma.
Absolutely.
That will be theirs. And it's really more disconcerting is how people really, how you've noticed, like in the hospital and being there lots of times with your kids, and I've been over the years, that how that environment now has become fascist.
Mm-hmm.
With the mask and with compliance, and then with having multiple people come and harass you.
Mm-hmm.
You always hear people talk about fascism and how the Nazis and how that happened. How did people let that get that far? Well, guess what? We've got it happening right in our hospitals. We've got it happening in Indigo. We're in a bookstore. We've got it happening with our government. And of course, they're pushing the whole thing. SHA has gone out of their way to target not a mask.
Absolutely.
Too bad they couldn't tell the difference between not a mask and a Muslim woman's niqab today. I know in Ontario you don't have to worry about it. You just walk in with your not a mask anywhere. It's fine.
Good.
Oh yeah, no. This is the only province anyone's having any problem. And of course we can't do it on the airline. It's Shabbat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's making sure.
Yeah. At the back end of the corporations, they get weekly emails and recommendations that they need to put into their policies. I've seen them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's insane.
And so they're feeding that, and then of course it just goes down the line, like these edicts from a fascist nation. Wow, well, I have to thank you so much for coming on the adventure.
It's fun, anytime.
That was so fun. You know, when you're in the middle doing it, you're kind of like, you don't want to think about it too much before you get in there. And I couldn't believe that he said hello. Because I really came in eyes down, just kind of like, okay, I'm going to slide through here. And yeah, he looked right at me and said, hello, and how are you? Fine, how are you? And then wanted to deny that too, which is interesting.
Yes.
How quick these people are to lie.
Yes, because they're trying to protect their company and their job.
It is. It's all about protection of the corporation, even to the detriment of their own integrity. And lying right on camera. Crazy. In any case, do we have anybody? My friend tells me Cornwall, Ontario is really bad. Well, Ontario's gotten pretty bad lately, actually. Yes, they're in third lockdown, and not even allowing people to go to their summer places, to their cottages, and
same as last year.
Same as last year. They don't want people out in these other areas, and again, in the cottage country, it is completely removed.
Yes.
When you have people there, you would have a cohort group. You know what they don't want is people talking to each other. Thanks. Oh, there we go. Got Dorothy, Melanie.
Hi, everybody.
We must be proactive rather than reactive, for sure. Well, we're trying. The thing is, I've been saying that for months. That's the fact that everything that comes down, we're reactive. And being proactive is difficult because, again, we have no organization. And there's so many different factions coming from here, there, and everywhere. And we've never been, okay, Cari, are you a person who has ever been, I'm against the government?
No. Well, I mean, I've always been like, we don't really listen to that stuff.
I'm not either. The only thing I ever went really against was, and I didn't go against it, I promoted hemp in Canada, but I wasn't, again, fighting against a law or anything like that. And this is what, I guess, we never had to fight. And now we're being gaslighted for our basic rights. And just common sense, where a white woman and a disguised white woman looking like a Muslim get treated completely different. It's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. But here we are. In any case, everybody, thanks for joining this afternoon. And we will talk soon. Take care.